Breaking today, the monetization of Princess Lilibet has begun by Meghan Markle on the young princess's fourth birthday. Take that in for one moment. The Instagram post, happy birthday to our beautiful girl. 4 years ago today, she came into our lives, and each day is brighter and better because of it. Thanks to all of those sending love and celebrating her special day. So we get two highly photoshopped pictures, one of Meghan and Princess Lilibet now, which pretty much reveals the face that Meghan promised Prince Harry she would kept hidden. The other, apparently, just after Lily popped out of Meghan. Yeah. Nancy Sidley posted on this. And she's officially monetized. Deemsty has been looking closely at the Photoshop work done in these images and said, these are supposed to be the same hands, ? And from Princess Carparkle, just like we all predicted getting closer and closer to the whole face reveal, what in the rat's nest fresh hell is going on with Meghan Markle's hair in the first picture? It's never not going to be weird that Harry and Meghan exploit parents who have lost children to bullying on social media, publicly rail against children being on social media, then turn around and exploit their kids on social media and play peekaboo games with faces the world has seen on Netflix and photos. It's bizarre. P-Dina, royal YouTube sensation, with me now. P-Dina, look, obviously inevitable. We knew this was coming. We even heard Meghan Markle speak to Tina Knowles this week about the fact that one day she's going to be in business with Lily. We just didn't expect it to be on the poor girl's fourth birthday party. What do you make of this post?
You know, I look at it and I think, why? Why? And we know why, but it's like she's going against the wishes of her husband. Harry is nowhere to be seen or, talked about. He, I think, is not happy about this post, but Megan just seems to want to exploit her children to make money and forget, what their messaging is about the Parents Network. She just wants to use these children to make money. And it's almost like, okay, here are my children, but don't look at my children. There's a contradiction, and that contradiction comes from Harry and Meghan just don't see things the same way when it comes to using your children. So it talks a lot about, I think, the marriage, the state of the marriage, not really being aligned in purpose because Megan is doing her own thing. Harry, go whatever with you. I'm doing what I want to do with these children and exploiting them and going against what their branding is supposed to be around children in social media. I just think it says a lot to their marriage, and I wonder why make these posts like this, Megan? It looks desperate. She looks desperate. She looks like she is trying hard to really be relevant with these children and to make money and to have a say in, what she wants to do. And I just think it's sad for the children to be used like this, to be torn apart between both of your parents, one wanting one thing and the other wanting another. It's really sad to see.
What did you make of the specifics of the photographs, P-Dina? Do you think these are genuine images, or do you agree with folk who are saying that they appear to be at least manipulated in some way? I mean, for example, if you look at the image of Lily apparently just after Meghan gave birth to her, you can see that her hand, I think that's meant to be her right hand, but it doesn't seem to be in the correct position.
Hmm. I did look at her hands and I thought they looked a little puffy. They looked not really glamorous. I mean, allegedly, or guess she just had the child. I think, why would you even Photoshop that? What would be the purpose of Photoshopping your hands? I don't know. I think maybe it could be just a little swollen. That's what it looked like to me when I initially looked at it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
according to Taz, looked at both pictures and she posted Diana Ross hair on the left. Lily looks very unhappy or rather grumpy at who is taking the photograph. Meghan looks annoyed rather than loving. And look at her jewelry all on display on a boat holding young children. No safety vests. She's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, now that is another thing. Yeah, being on a boat without a safety vest, because that was the same thing in the other picture with Harry and Lily. But also, I think the post is more about Meghan, if anything. Here are my children, but look at me. I'm here too, and she just seems to want to create these that make her look like she is, glamorous with the children and, I'm a mother and putting it in everyone's face around her daughter, I guess allegedly, well, not allegedly, but her talk with Tina Knowles and really highlighting her daughter since Tina said she would, want to work with her one day and just really using these kids to up her own profile. That's what I feel like when I watch Meghan. It's the children are there, but it's really about me, and my image and what I want to portray,
Well, of
you know.
course, and that's gross and it's dark and it's sinister. It goes completely against everything they've propagated as a couple. It makes them total hypocrites, but it's coming. It's coming. We saw the first drop of it with Tina Knowles this week, and we'll come to that later. But seriously, this is coming. Now, can we please get to P-Dina? What has to be the most catastrophic high profile celebrity business launch in history? And I do not say that lightly. And until this week, P-Dina, I hadn't said that. But the way that Meghan has U-turned in the course of just a couple of days over as ever and over which products are going to be stocked or not going to be stocked is genuinely mind-blowing, and I think shows that this is now a business that is spiraling out of control. So to explain very briefly before we go into the details, of course, but those who've been following along will know that Meghan's products sold out within just 45 minutes. Initially, that was viewed as a bit of a coup because it was like, oh, this is great. It means we're in demand. But then there was absolutely no plan to restock the products whatsoever, meaning that the initial supply was so low that it almost made it pointless to go on sale in the first place. Meghan gave 2 interviews. First to a business magazine, then to Tina Knowles on her own podcast, saying that the plan was just to pause, to wait until they could properly get stock in, to maybe never come back with jam at all, and effectively there'd be no more as ever products going on sale until next year. The podcast was released yesterday, where we heard Tina Knowles completely rip into Meghan about that strategy and talk about how ridiculous it was and how it's not a good thing to sell out that quickly. And all of a sudden, mega U-turn is announced on Meghan's own social media accounts. She posts via As Ever and on her own Instagram story, to all who've been wondering and waiting, thank you. Your favourites returning, plus a few new things we can't wait to show you coming this month. Get excited. And on her own story, she wrote June gloom. Is that a thing, by the way? I mean, who has gloom in June in the Northern Hemisphere? Not over here, because this month, your products are back. So, P-Dina, what type of game is she playing here?
Megan is so confused. This girl does not know if she is coming or going. What in the world? I mean, it's like you talk about not knowing what you're going to do. Like she was having issues around her naming and her products and then not even trying to be on point in messaging around what's coming next and now changing that. I think Megan is so completely lost when it comes anything around her business. She does not even know what she wants to do. How can you sell products and not really understand? how you're going to move forward, like while you're already promoting your product. She should have already known right when she had put out the initial products what to do if they sold out, and like on point have that coming out like in days later. And she doesn't even know what she wants to do. It's a lot of back and forth. To me, it just says that she doesn't really have a business that she's trying to make successful. She's trying to do something to put her name out there, to put her image out there, but not really being true to a business owner's journey and what they go through. It's like Meghan is using everything for publicity, and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family and friends. I think she does the same thing around her business. She doesn't even know how to treat her business right. I mean, she's had so many ups and downs, and just everything is wrong about this product launch. I mean, why even talk about it as a founder? You don't even have the basic knowledge around running a business to even talk about it on a podcast. I don't understand this woman at all. It is confusing.
That's the thing. It just makes no sense. I mean, Royal Daily Tea, I thought, posted very well on this, writing, "Oh, good Lord, Meghan Markle has got to be the worst business person ever. Seriously, you announce a restock and a new product drop on an Instagram story with new products coming this month. What? After telling everyone you were not restocking because you were taking a step back? This woman said earlier no products until 2026 and not restocking for a while. Why does she insist on confusing her customers and fan base? I bet it will just be the raspberry slub and that plant potter with her crap logo on it. This woman just wants to fail." And the Royal News Network as well was also all over this, posting, "I'm sorry, but what the hell? She just spent the last week telling the world she had no products and was rethinking everything, and now she has products? Who the heck is running this train wreck? This deserves to fail for crappy products and share incompetence alone." But the problem is, P-Dina, we know who's running this. Meghan Markle is running this. And that is the fundamental issue.
Yeah, she doesn't want to listen to anyone. She seems to already know all the answers, and it's apparent that she doesn't. I mean, you just look at her and you think you are so just not in line with anything that is going to be successful. What is the point? What are you trying to do? And I think the further the royal family gets away from Meghan and her likeness, the better off they'll be, because she really does set a bad image for the royals in general. Just the fact that she married into the royal family is enough to make people look at you with the side eye, like, this woman, really, her? I mean, I don't understand what Meghan is doing. Just like her whole life is in shambles. And
And
soon we're going to see it with the marriage.
well,
Watch, it's
indeed,
going to
indeed, watch the space on that. What I think her strategy has been, her PR strategy has been, P-Dina. I mean, by the way, I don't agree with this strategy. I think it's utterly insane and ridiculous. But it's to say that this U-turn has been sparked by the dressing down she received from Tina Knowles on the podcast, because there was an exclusive interview, and I say interview like that, right? Because this wasn't an interview, it was a PR job in Marie Claire, and there's this woman called Kristen Contino, and look, I'm sure Kristen Contino's a nice enough woman, P-Dina, like, she's not a nasty piece of work like that absolute horrible dude, weird dude. You know, the one that looks like Michael Jackson, Omid Scobie? She's not like
oh,
that dude. She seems
right.
to be very pleasant. And so I almost feel a little bit unkind here. But she's not a journalist, P-Dina. She doesn't know anything about the royals or about how this all really works. So she has become the number one propagandist for Meghan Markle. And so this is not an interview in Marie Claire. It's very clear that Meghan's team emailed some quotes over. But let me just take you through it, because this is how the PR spin is coming from Montecito. Exclusive. Meghan Markle on the extraordinary advice Tina Knowles gave her during special podcast episode. The Duchess of Sussex tells Marie Claire what it was like talking business and Beyonce with Ms. Tina by Kristen Contino. And the story reads, the Duchess of Sussex wrapped up the first season of her new Lemonada media podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, with Meghan last week. But on Tuesday, she released a bonus episode, and none other than Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, opened up about her decades of experience as an entrepreneur. Speaking exclusively to Marie Claire, Meghan says, wrapping Confessions of a Female Founder with Tina Knowles felt like the perfect end to a very special podcast as I grow my own business. As ever, I spoke to women who had turned their own entrepreneurial dreams into reality. Ms. Tina's conversation fulfills the promise of the podcast, offering extraordinary advice and sharing insights about being a working mom, building something special, and remaining true to herself through every twist and turn. This episode proves to be a powerful toolkit of truths that I will apply to my own life as I too grow my business, care for my family, and look forward to new adventures. So there's two things I take from that P-Dina. Confessions of a Female Founder is over. It was a disaster. It tanked. It bombed. It's not coming back, clearly. It seems very, very certain that she said there, this is the final episode, this is the conclusion. And secondly, she's trying to say, well, it was this conversation with Ms. Tina, as she calls her, which has now influenced this U-turn for her business. But first, these days we're living through economic whiplash, soaring prices, vanishing savings, and headlines that seem designed to confuse more than inform. We're told this is all normal, that history is being rewritten for our own good, and that embracing these changes is the only path forward. But every outlet tells a different version of reality, and the so-called fact checkers are just enforcing the approved narrative. Luckily, there's a solution. It's ground news, hands down. The easiest way to stay informed, because it cuts through all the bias and spin so you can actually see what's going on and make up your own mind. I have it on my phone and in my bookmarks online because it's just become so essential to my daily life. See for yourself, by the way, at ground.news/outspoken. I've got a big discount coming too. But I want to first show you this incredible website and app in action. So we'll use the breaking story of Donald Trump agreeing to cut tariffs on UK autos, steel and aluminium as part of a trade deal with Britain, one that could reshape global trade and has sparked debate on both sides of the political aisle. So you can see clearly in one place that over 500 sources are covering this story. Ground News instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether it leans to the left or the right. This is illustrated by its bias distribution chart. And if you scroll down, you can then see every headline about the story, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So in this case, most of the coverage is from outlets in the center, but here's where it gets interesting. 49% of the sources come from outlets owned by giant media conglomerates. So no wonder the narratives feel so coordinated. When looking at the headlines, the left covered the story with skepticism, Wired fixated on the struggling reputation of Jaguar and framed the deal as a potential way to resurrect the brand. Bloomberg chose vague language, calling it a framework, which subtly questions whether the deal is even real. But the coverage on the right-leaning outlets was far more confident, with GB News celebrating a major victory for UK auto manufacturers and the New York Sun calling it a full and comprehensive trade deal that strengthens US-UK ties. My favourite feature of Ground News, though, is the blind spot feed, which surfaces upwards of 20 stories daily that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news, like you know I do, the blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's happening. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on screen to subscribe today. You will get 40% off the same Vantage plan I use for unlimited access. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Yeah, clearly she was influenced by that. But, it just shows Tina Knowles has been through a lot. She's done a lot. Her daughter is very successful and, they have their family and everyone is aligned in, purpose. And, Meghan, I think, is just someone who wants to emulate somebody that is successful, but really proving false to it because, she doesn't have the grounding. She doesn't have the what it takes to really be successful in her own right, because there's so much going against her already that she continues to perpetuate in terms of her wanting to be a business owner and try to take Tina's advice. I think taking the advice around your family and being in general a good person, I mean, and getting along with people. I mean, let's start there. Let's start with being a true person and learning how to be authentic. I think you trying to run a business on this idea that you are going to emulate someone like Tina. It's almost like fairy tale. Meghan has so much work to do when it comes to just doing the right thing and not trying to always get a dig at someone. I mean, she's always trying to make digs at the royal family. Worry about trying to be a good person and run your business, but there's all these other things out there that she's doing, that she's, I mean, I always talk about on my channel how she's at the computer typing and conniving and doing all, and that's what she does because she is so delusional. She is not the kind of person that really is focused on what she says. Like, she'll say one thing, but her focus and what really is important to her is all these other superficial things out there. She's not truly committed to the mission of being a businesswoman or a good person, a family person. You can't take someone like Tina Knowles' advice and think that, you're going to gain something out of that and run with it and, be successful, because there's so much more, so much that Tina has done that you need work on. You have not done so much that you need to do to work on yourself, Meghan. This is a woman who is grounded, who has done so much. Meghan needs to start with the basics. That's what she needs to do. And she can't, she won't. She's just not in that mindset to do it. It's all a game to her, and it's just, you watch her and you just think, girl, go sit down. No one is going to listen to you. You don't even know what you're doing. You're lost yourself. So why are we following and listening to your advice?
So true. So true. But P-Dina, I mean, when on earth is she going to be able to sort of cope with the fact that this podcast, despite more publicity than any other podcast in the world, is not just a minor flop? I mean, this is a monumental flop. Royal News Network has looked at the numbers, writing, despite, I'm sure, begging Tina Knowles to appear on her flop of a podcast, her appearance failed to make things any better. In the business subsection, right? So this is just the business subsection. Meghan's podcast currently ranks number 66. And the episode debuted at number 74 on Apple Podcasts. That is an undeniable flop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't joke about those numbers, P-Dina.
Look, she has a name. She does. She's attached to one of the most famous families in the world. And that's the best you could do, really? I mean, that tells you everything you need to know right there. You can't even, with your attachment to the royal family, do anything that's going to be successful, like get you higher up where people want to listen to you. That right there sets the tone for everything this woman will do. It will flop. It will not do well. And she's going to keep trying and keep trying. And it's a joke. Meghan is a joke. She is becoming a joke in Hollywood, everywhere.
Because how on earth can you launch this podcast, right, about business when you're basically admitting by the final episode that your whole business strategy is such a disaster that you're going to do a total 180 because of some advice that Beyonce's mum gave you, while at the same time, your actual podcast has tanked. And it's not going to be making Lemonada Media any money. And by the way, all of those advertisers, because I listen each week, as you know, so that you guys don't have to. And those advertisers like LinkedIn who are there, they're not going to be coming back because they're simply not getting the numbers. And I know about this business. And the thing about the podcast business, what matters to the advertisers is the numbers, because you have a direct correlation between whether people are listening or watching and whether you're able to help sell product. But look, I wanted to show you those couple of moments, P-Dina, with Tina Knowles, because it was interesting. I was looking through the comments section yesterday after my video went up, and a few people were saying to me, Dan, I think you're misreading what Tina Knowles was saying. And I'm like, I wasn't. I really, really wasn't. Like, Tina Knowles is a formidable woman, and there was dig after dig in this podcast, dig about the family, but listen to what she has to say here about Meghan's entire business strategy. She is very clearly saying, no, you're selling out with no product to come. It's not a positive thing, it's a disaster. And you can really feel it hit home with Meghan. So P-Dina, in case you missed this, let's have a listen and we'll discuss on the back.
Strawberries, and it's so great. Look, I just put a little bit of sugar and some Meyer lemon, and you try to scale that up.
Oh, yeah.
And you're wanting to manage expectations, but you want to share the thing you've worked so hard on. And so for me at the moment with As Ever, it was great. We planned for a year, and then everything sells out in 45 minutes. With yes, amazing, great news.
But then what do you do then?
Then what do you do? And then you say, okay, we planned as best as we could.
Yes.
Are we going to replenish and sell out again in an hour? Or is that annoying as a customer?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it saying, just pause.
Yeah.
That happened. Let's wait until we are
ready to
completely
go.
At we have everything we need.
I go through the same thing.
Right? Where you're trying to just balance inventory, cost.
Yes.
At least our things are shelf stable.
Yes. And that's another thing. Ours, they have a shelf life of like 3 years. So your time is ticking. And I know exactly everything you're saying is just a part of business that people don't see.
It's a part, they see all the flashy stuff and they see the product, but that end game, I think you're right. Those behind the scenes moments, how many tears I've shed.
And that had clearly really got to Meghan, because then she wasn't done with that. She wasn't prepared to just let it go, because she then tried to come back and justify why she had gone for this strategy of putting up hardly any product and selling out with 45 minutes. And she described it as something called a scarcity mentality. Watch.
Bad because people are saying, you guys aren't making enough stuff and we're looking for it and we can't find it. So I don't think it's such a good thing all the time to sell out.
Yeah, I think that scarcity mentality at the beginning might be a hook for people, not dissimilar to a sneaker drop. Great.
Yes, exactly.
But when you're talking about products
that you need to be consistent with, or foods that you want to provide to your family.
I don't want you to eat that jam once every 6 months.
Right.
I want that to be on your shelf
right.
all the time. You want us to wash our hair with these products all the time. So trying to keep up with that demand, I think, is something that's really helpful for people to have that insight on, no matter who you are, that part of the process as an entrepreneur is not easy, that numbers game.
I mean, Meghan's clearly a little bit scared of Tina Knowles. And I listened to the whole thing and you could really pick up on that. But Tina Knowles is basically saying, this ain't a good strategy, Meghan. She blew it to pieces. She destroyed the strategy.
Yeah, I think also to your point, Meghan sounds overly erratic. I mean, she just sounds so like, she's just going on, and I don't know, maybe a little intimidated by Tina. But yeah, I think, sometimes, you just need to hear what you need to hear. And I think Tina saying that is on point for Meghan, but she's not really going to listen and really heed the advice. I think it's good to tell Meghan these things because, she's made a lot of mistakes, but she says all these things around business. But do you really follow the things that you're saying and talking about? And I don't think she does. And obviously she doesn't. I mean, she should have that product ready to go. And I think Tina gave her some good advice. Will she run with it? I doubt it. But, obviously Meghan has already waited too long, I think, to get her products out after they've sold out. It's been several weeks now. And she doesn't even have a plan or strategy for bringing them out sooner than she should be. Like right now, they should be out. Don't you think? I mean,
of course they should. And the thing is, she's still not listening properly to what Tina Knowles actually said, because she's done this absolute U-turn, and clearly there will be another sellout because there is no proper manufacturing of this. So it's all just a mess. It is a complete mess. The reality is there is no strategy, but that's like everything with Meghan. There was no strategy behind the Spotify deal. There was no strategy behind the Netflix deal. There was no strategy when she went with American Riviera Orchard. She goes from one disaster to another and she never listens to advice, which is why Ari Emanuel is just like, I'm done. I am done with this rubbish. P-Dina, I did just want to play you one other moment in the podcast because this was the most astonishing part for me for a few reasons. There are a couple of different facets to it because firstly, she's talking about faith, Tina Knowles, and Meghan's very, very clear that she doesn't give a damn about faith. She only cares about faith in herself. But then there's a mortifying moment where Meghan has to admit that she hasn't even bothered to read Tina Knowles' book, which is sitting, the matriarch, at the top of the New York Times bestseller list, which is incredibly disrespectful. And then Tina Knowles talks about bitterness and why it's important to let go of bitterness. And of course, we know Meghan Markle is the most bitter woman in the world, and she ain't having it. Listen.
Religious faith. That's what it is for me. But you have to have faith in something.
Something greater than yourself or faith in yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
I used to have a quote up in my trailer years ago that said, my faith is greater than my fear.
Yes, absolutely. That's in my book too. I say that. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait to dig
because
into it.
it's true. You have to, and that doesn't come easy.
Mm-mm.
And the other thing is I have fought very hard not to be bitter because I don't want to be bitter. I don't want any parts of it. I choose to look at the good things in my life and not harp on the bad ones. And so I've been through a bunch of stuff in my life, really hard stuff. But what I will never be is bitter. I let it go.
I mean, that is easier said than done for a lot of people. But I think that is what you said earlier. Just, you don't want wasted time.
Easier said than done for a lot of people. A lot of
Yeah,
people,
you,
meaning
Megan.
you.
Yeah, like I said, she's not going to take her advice. Meghan is, not listening to a woman that really knows and has come from some really, hard knock life. And I think she absolutely could learn from this woman. But Meghan is she's got so much to be grateful for. But yet she harbors so much anger and resentment and jealousy towards the royal family and to, her father. I mean, how she treats people, her employees. She is the most bitter person of them all. And if you want to have success, if you want to have anything that is going to get you anywhere, I mean, especially on a world stage where the whole world is watching you, you cannot have these problems with your family. You can't have these problems with the most famous family in the world. You cannot have these things that make you look so petty and jealous and bitter and all these things. Take the advice of someone like Tina Knowles and live a life that doesn't have these negative things attached to them, because you cannot have success with all of this hanging over your head. Meghan, she's been put in a position where she could have such an enriched life by the people she's been able to be in front of, the people she's been able to talk to. But it's almost like a wall is up. Like, look at me, I'm next to so-and-so. But she doesn't really place herself in a position to learn from these great minds and these people who have been there and done that. She wants to continue her life living in that little petty mindset of a Hollywood actress and trying to do what she's doing, what we see her failing at. But she could have such a more enriched, better life from these people that have given her good advice that she chooses not to listen to, because just by the fact that she said, well, that's hard for a lot of people. No, you should have taken a moment, step back. Yeah, that's some good advice, and thought about your own life, Meghan, and how you cannot be so bitter. Learn something. That's the problem with her. And it's always been the foundation of my channel. Learn something to be better. You won't be better if you're not able to learn. That's the problem with Meghan. And it's just, I think, a waste of time for someone like Tina Knowles. I mean, I'm sorry, Meghan is just, talking to her doesn't really yield much, because Meghan is empty. She's just an empty person who didn't even read the woman's book. I mean, come on, you should have known that.
I know, didn't
You know?
even bother to read the book. That was such
No.
a low blow, wasn't it, P-Dina? If you want the first access, by the way, to the Royal Uncancelled After Show every single weekday here on Outspoken, www.outspoken.live. That's my Substack. We broadcast it first there, live and on demand, in full. Substack's also such an incredible platform. There's lots of big tech censorship that goes on, not on Substack. There's lots of cancellation that goes on these days, especially when you're trying to cover the likes of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So I really would appreciate your support there, www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.